Hi, it's Esmeralda on Help Me Help You. I wanted to start by thanking the people who did view my previous segment on healing after divorce. It was my first take and my first try at this thing they call video vlogging, and I got a lot of positive feedback. I'm really happy to hear that some of the resources that I was able to make known are helping some of the people. And something that my sister Bernadette told me was, if I help one person, then I've done my job. And I hope that I was able to help more than one person in doing a vlog that was real and that was raw on healing after divorce. So I want to say thank you to the people that viewed it, and thank you to the people that gave me positive feedback. I really hope it helped. I was going to do my next segment on grief and loss. However, grief and loss is a very deep and rooted subject. There is just so much that goes with it, and I have been doing my research on the side so I can provide new resources, but also resources that I've already had in working as a therapist. So I'm trying to scale it down a bit and give you practical information and also simplify it so that it's helpful for everybody. And that one's not quite ready. So I did want to do a segment that has to do with divorce, somewhat of a part 2, but this is how to talk to your kids about the divorce. If you are a parent, then this applies to you. If you're not a parent, this might not apply to you, but maybe you know somebody that this can help and you can share the video with them. If you're not a divorced parent and you're a parent, a lot of the information that I'm going to give today are just great parenting tools, no matter if you come from a single parent home or a dual parent home. It's really up to you, or a 2-parent home. So I'm going to go ahead and start giving you some information. Again, I include some of the spiritual piece with scripture. I'm going to include the mental health aspect and some resources that I purchased and used for my own children. My older daughter more so, because the baby is just about to turn 2. My older daughter's 4. Even if your kids aren't verbal, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings, and it doesn't mean that you can't read or talk to them about certain things that are coming up. So I want to make sure that you have some resources on how to speak to your children about some of these difficult topics, but today's topic is divorce. I'm sure you can tweak it to other topics that may be occurring in your family at the moment. I want to start with scripture, Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. See, we are all children of God, and God gives us our children as a reward. He gives us our children so that we can do right by them, so that we can raise them, hopefully in godly households, but in a way to follow God's will and follow God's word. Something that the pastor said this Sunday at church, he was talking about himself as a pastor, and he said, how can I spiritually feed other people if I'm not spiritually feeding myself? The same concept goes with parenting. How can I help my children if I can't help myself? How can I teach my children of God if I can't teach myself, or if I'm not learning myself through going through church or talking to other people in fellowship? Now again, I'm not a guru in any of these topics that I'm going to be talking about today. This is just something that I think can help people out there when I provide some resources and just some what I call real talk, real people, real world, real life issues that a lot of people don't want to talk about, that I got used to talking about as a therapist. It's not always easy doing it in your own household than listening maybe to somebody else's problems and kind of guiding them through it. Being a person and being a therapist are 2 different things, and you process things differently. So I use a lot of the therapeutic tools that I've learned for myself as far as coping mechanisms, of course, but it again doesn't exempt me from having to go through certain processes myself. And that includes talking to your children about divorce. There was a psychoanalyst by the name of Donald Winnicott, and he says that there is no perfect parent. He wrote a book called The Good Enough Parent. There is no perfect parent, okay? Parenting doesn't come with its own manual, and each child has their own personality and their own feelings and their own behaviors. There is no science to be a parent. There is no perfect formula in being a parent. Being a parent for me has been God's greatest blessing to me, but it's also God's greatest challenge for me, because I struggle with, am I a good enough mom? Am I doing right by my kids? Am I screwing them up for the future? But the good enough parent says, hey, if we're loving our kids and we're trying to do right by them, give yourself some credit and give yourself some slack, because we're not perfect, we're human. If we're not expected to be perfect humans because we're not perfect, only God is perfect, then you can't expect yourself to be a perfect parent, but in turn, you can't expect your children to be perfect children. If I'm allowed to make mistakes and God forgives me, or other people can forgive me, then my child is allowed to make mistakes, and I in turn will forgive them. Something that I think is huge with us parents, you have to let your pride down when it comes to parenting. When I make a mistake as a parent, I need to own up to my mistake and apologize to my children, no matter how old or how young they may be. And that's something that I've been practicing with my daughters, especially my older one, because she's my most sensitive child. I apologize to her on those days where maybe everything feels so overwhelming for me as a parent and every little thing is irritating me, and her being extra whiny or crying that day, I'm just like, enough. You need to knock it off. For the most part, I have a lot of patience for my children, and I really try to talk to them and guide them. And that's one thing that I can say about my parenting style is I communicate with my daughters. Sometimes people tell me, oh, it sounds like you're having an adult conversation with your child, and my older child's 4. True. I am almost having an adult conversation with her at her level, though. I might not share everything and might not tell her everything, but I'm constantly communicating to her, which is why her favorite word is, why, Mom? But why, Mom? But why, Mom? Obviously, it's the age, too. And sometimes it's hard as a parent when every other question is why. And sometimes I even tell her, well, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe we can find out together. I don't know why spiders come out at night and they're usually in during the day. I told her I think it's because they're sleeping. Am I a scientist? No. Do I know about that? Not really, but I try to learn and to help her learn in every aspect, not just the spiritual piece, not just the emotional, but the mental. We're here to guide our children and to help them grow. The way I see it is, if my kids know that I love them and I'm being a good parent, let's say 80%, 90% of the time, I'm allowed to mess up 10 to 20% of the time. And I'm not saying mess up severely. Don't go beating your children. That's not okay. I'm talking about if I raise my voice that day, or I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to just clean this up because I've had it with you, blah, 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 and I start becoming that ranting mom. Guess what? It happens, and it happens to all of us, and it doesn't make you a bad parent. It doesn't make you a bad mother. It doesn't make you a bad father. Why? Because we're human too, but also we have to set limits with our children. In the Bible, it also says, Proverbs 13, verse 24, he who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. I think with children of divorced parents, it's a little harder because you have 2-parent households. The way I parent my daughters in my household might be different than the way their father parents in their household. Rules are different. and you're sort of sharing the role of parenting, and they're with you one time, they're with the father the next time, and things can get lost in translation and in communication, and each household is parenting in their own way. What happens to the child, that can be confusing. That can be extremely confusing. When I worked as a therapist, it's something that we called consistent parenting. If you're going to parent a child in two separate households, communicate with the ex-spouse so that you're consistently parenting. Is it 100%? No, it's never going to be 100%. I know that maybe at my ex-husband's house, the girls go to sleep a little later than at my house. I try to do more of a bedtime routine for the most part, versus where he might be a little bit more lax about it. Again, that's parenting styles. But as long as we're trying to meet our children's needs and hearing their needs and their wants and respecting them, it's another big thing. Growing up in a traditional Mexican household, it's you respect the parents. The kids have no say. It's because I say so. Too bad. Cry it out in the corner. You know, that's it. There's no feelings. There's no, I wonder if they're okay. Versus in this culture, or maybe my age, maybe because I'm a therapist, whatever it might be, I'm different with my children. My children's feelings matter. And the more versed they are in communicating their feelings, the more as a parent I'm going to understand their needs. Mentally, physically, spiritually, in all aspects. I thank God every day that Evangeline, my oldest daughter, tells me, and she's only 4, and she'll tell me, Mom, I'm angry. Mom, I'm sad. Mom, I'm crying. Mom, I'm not happy with you right now. Mom, I don't like you right now. Mom, why are you angry? Mom, I feel frustrated. Mom, I'm cranky. Mom, I'm cheapies. Cheapies to us means clingy, like when she just woke up from a nap and she needs that coddle feeling, that feeling hugs and love, and oh, come here, my little baby. That's what we call cheapies in my family. But the fact that she's 4 and can express that, I love that about her. She's super sensitive, so sometimes she goes from 0 to 10 really quick, and I'm like, whoa, what just happened here? But then again, kids have a 2-second emotional rebound. I mean, the baby the other day, you know, she totally whacked herself and starts crying, and literally within 1 minute she was already laughing and playing, and I'm just like, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? Did you break anything? What happened? And she was just like, la la la, I'm fine, I'm playing. Kids are so resilient too. But the more tools you give your children and how to communicate their needs, and the more coping skills you give them, the easier it's going to be for you as a parent to understand what they need and what they're coming from. And also, they're going to grow up to be healthier adults who can communicate their needs and their wants with their friends, with their significant others in the future, with their coworkers, etc., etc. It starts in the home. If you teach your children discipline, boundaries, self-control, love, respect, you're doing an okay job. You're doing a good job. You're being the good enough parent. Why? Because there's no perfect parent. The only perfect parent is the Lord our God. All of us fail from time to time. But again, all within reason. You don't want to become that parent that's always yelling at your kids and not talking to them, because then they're not going to listen to you. They can't hear the message. And the same goes with if your child is crying and throwing a tantrum and they're at a 10 and you're like, let's talk about your feelings. What's happening? Da 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 da. They're just going to keep crying. What I do with my daughter is I tell her, okay, go ahead and cry it out if you need to get it out. And when you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen. And then we can have a conversation. The person needs to, or the child in this situation needs to calm down first. Once they've calmed down, then you're opening the door for reasoning, for logic, for thinking, for listening, for speaking. Because when they're throwing a tantrum like that, they can't hear you. And you're just going to get aggravated and start maybe yelling at them because they can't hear you. Sometimes you need to let the storm calm before you can do any work and really talk to them as far as what's happening. So I usually, once my daughter is calm, then I'll talk to her and say, okay, what happened? I'll offer her a hug because I know that helps her. So I give her a hug, and then we start talking about it. Mommy, I didn't like that, you got angry with me. And I'll say, Mama, I didn't yell at you. I raised my voice a little bit because I asked you to clean up 10 times. I asked you to put your dolls in your dollhouse away 10 times. Mommy had a lot of patience. Mommy had a lot of patience until I said, enough is enough. I raised my voice, and what happened? You were crying, but you cleaned up. Why do you need to wait for Mommy to raise her voice to listen to me? If you did it the first couple times, we could have already been on to the next activity, and we could have already been having fun, or maybe we could have already been halfway to the museum that we said we were going to go to. All I needed you to do was pick up your toys, so that when we come home at the end of the day, we have a clean space to play in. We have a clean space to sleep in. So, obviously parenting is a trial and error. You have to see what works for your child and what doesn't, because no two kids are the same. If one thing works, something else might not work. Let's see. As parents, we tend to blame ourselves or be hard on ourselves too. I think that's my biggest struggle, is I blame myself a lot for what my daughter is feeling because of the divorce. But I need to let go of that sometimes and know that she's going to be okay, that she's resilient, that as long as she knows how much I love her, and that I'm there to listen to her and to guide her feelings and to show her right from wrong, she's gonna be okay. And most of the time she is. It's just, hey, we're all human, and sometimes we have meltdowns. And kids are little people. Feelings are already hard enough for grown-ups. So imagine for a little person in a tiny little body that is barely learning and exploring in this world. That's where the behaviors come from. That's where they might be talking back or hitting their sibling or not listening. They need that attention and that love. And sometimes, I'll be honest, as a single parent, that can be hard. 1, my kids aren't always with me. 2, I work. Sometimes I'm tired. And people tend to judge people's parenting all the time. People without kids love judging parents. People maybe from a 2-parent household love judging people from a single-parent household. Like, well, that's not how I would do it. Guess what? Not your kid. Not your input. Every single child is different. When I worked as a therapist, I always worked with a parent as a team, and I would say, you are the expert of your child. I may be knowledgeable on the psychological piece and be able to give you some tools on how to help your child, but you are the end all be all. You are the expert of your child, just like God is the expert of us. God is the expert of your child first. You're the expert of your child second. We need to let everyone parent the way they think is fit for their children. Are some parenting strategies more effective than others? Absolutely. But you can't just walk in a parenting moment and start correcting or start judging somebody else's parenting because you don't know what's happening, or you don't know what they're doing, or you don't know what that family situation, household is going through. The dynamic changes whenever a person leaves in the family circle. There is a change in the dynamic. There is a change in, let's say, the temperature drop. Let's say your family stability is at 95 degrees, hypothetically. Nah, that's too hot. Let's say 75 degrees, hypothetically. That sounds nice to me. And a parent leaves the household, and now you're down to 3. What happens is there's going to be chaos, and there's going to be reshifting, kind of like an earthquake of the earth. Rebalancing needs to happen. So the degrees might change to an 88, or it might drop to a 67. And you have to work and take steps to get that household back to 75 degrees. How are you going to do that? By talking to each other, by communicating with each other, by validating each other's feelings, listening to each other's feelings, and being okay with it. Sometimes you have to agree to disagree. I might feel one way about something, you might feel one way about something, and that's okay. Everyone's feelings are valid and justified. Sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat. All right. It's also important that when you are a divorced parent, don't let your kids get away with everything. I know we do it because we might have feelings of guilt or, oh my goodness, or have, these emotions because of the divorce. Yes, they are. But we can't stop being a parent. We can't just give them everything they want because we're not helping them cope with the feelings. Here you go. You want that candy? Sure, here. You want this new bike? Sure, here. That's just not a positive parenting strategy to give your children everything that they want, because you're not teaching them skills for the future. You're not teaching them coping skills. You're not teaching them that things are earned and not just given. As a parent, we need to try to have that balance. And in Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I think that's true in many ways. You can really teach your child something and repeat. Something that I learned as a therapist and in working with children is repeat. That's why when teachers use those strategies of memorize your timetables, recite this poem so you can learn it, they're teaching them that if they repeat, they're going to ingrain it in their brain. It's going to become a part of them, and they're really going to learn it and apply it. Same goes with training your children. Don't do drugs. You might have to say it a couple times. That's why they have DARE programs in the schools, or maybe stay pure till you're married, if that's something that you're teaching your children. The values of marriage, the values of job and work and money and responsibility. Maybe you have a new household family pet. It's okay to give the little ones a little responsibility, like, hey, it's your job to fill the water bowl. Let's go do it together. This is a family. This is a team. This is a family, and we're going to do it together. We're going to help out together, because that's how they learn to function in society. If they can learn to function at the home, they can learn to function in society, because they're going to take it to school with them. They're going to take it to work with them one day. They're going to take it to social outings with them one day. Learning how to communicate and take responsibilities for actions. That's really huge. So I'm going to move on to the resources piece of this segment. That was some of the spiritual / mental health. Excuse me. Now, some of the great books that I found when I first separated from my ex, I found on thriftbooks.com. Thriftbooks.com are used but almost new books that you can buy. I'm talking $3, $4 books that might normally cost you anywhere from $8 to $15. You're really saving a lot. And I'm going to show you some of these books that I went ahead and purchased. My daughter wasn't even 2 yet when we separated, to be honest, and I was 6 months pregnant. And I realized that I really had to simplify these books that I purchased for her even way more than they were already simplified, because, mind you, she wasn't even 2. Now that she's 4, she can understand a little bit more. So you can still tweak it. You can still use it as a resource for you to learn how to talk to your own child about certain things. This book here is A First Look at Book. My Family's Changing, a first look at family breakup. And you can see Thrift Books here, that's where I purchased it. And it's by Pat Thomas. I really like this book. It's good for counselors. It's good for parents. And what I like about it is that it teaches what divorce is. So there's a little bit of that. You teach your child that it's not their fault. First and foremost, a lot of kids tend to blame themselves. Oh, it's my fault, or maybe my parents don't love me, or maybe because I was misbehaving, that's why they were fighting and they broke up. Not true. You have to let your child know it is not your fault what mommy and daddy are going through. Sometimes mommies and daddies can no longer live together, but that doesn't mean that we've stopped loving you. Papa loves you and mama loves you. And it's okay to feel sad or mad or scared, so validating their feelings. You want to talk to them about how you haven't stopped loving them. This book says mom and dad stopped loving each other, but we haven't stopped loving you. I didn't use those exact words with my daughter because I felt like that would be traumatic. Like, I just stopped loving your dad. I thought maybe she's going to think I'm going to stop loving her too. So I didn't say it that way. I just said, I love your dad as the father that he is to you. So I love that your dad is a good dad to you. But I don't love him as a husband anymore. And that's okay. Mama and Papa can't live together. But he's still a good person. Mama's still a good person. And we both still love you very much. You don't want to badmouth the other parent because it can have psychological effects on the child and they can just end up hating you. Does it happen a little bit when you're having a bad day? Absolutely. Maybe at the beginning anyway. It's something that I can say takes time because you're going through your own healing process, let alone trying to help your children go through their healing process. And it really is a lot to take on. So remember, forgive yourself for your mistakes, apologize to your kids, and move on from it. Tomorrow's another day. When God forgives us, he says, don't even bring that sin up anymore. I've already forgiven you for that. It's erased. Starting a clean slate. So make sure to help your children understand that you're not keeping tabs on them. Oh, remember what you did a week ago? No, it's irrelevant. We said sorry. We got past it. Let's focus on today and the future. I like that it has some interactive questions. I can show you one at the very bottom. So right here, there's some interactive questions. What about you? When the changes are happening in a family, many children might feel sad or scared or angry or confused. How do you feel? So it's really a good tool to open that communication with your children, no matter how old they might be. You can even read it on your own, jot down some things, and then talk to your children that way if you don't feel that the book might be the best route at first. Every child's different. It also talks a little bit about how to keep in touch with the other parent. Something that I let my daughter know is, hey, if you miss mama while you're at papa's house, you can call me. And I'll do a little video chat with them at least 5 minutes before bedtime so that they know that I still love them and I'm still thinking about them. And it's important to let them know that they don't have to be loyal to just one parent. They can love both. Something that my 4-year-old told me, and she was 3. She was 3 at the time, a fresh 3. She had just turned 3. And she said, Mom, I love you so much, Mom. I love you so much. But I love Papa too. And I love Grandma too. And she looked confused, like, where was her loyalty gonna lie? And I looked at her and I sat her down and I said, baby, it's okay. You can love Mama, and you can love Papa, and you can love Grandma. And you can love Grandpa, and you can love your tia and your tío, aunts and uncles, cousins, your friends. You can love everybody in the whole world because that's what God calls us to do. He calls us to love everybody. Now, the love that you have for Mama, Papa, Grandma, they're going to be different. But you don't have to choose just one person to love. You can love all of us. And it was such an aha moment for her. Like, you just heard the glass shatter. And she just looked at me like, I can? And you should have just seen the relief on her face. She was struggling with this. She was carrying this. Excuse me. And then all of a sudden, Mama gave her permission to love everybody. And it was going to be okay. And she felt relief. And I'm glad that her and I were able to have the conversation at such a young age, because she doesn't have to be loyal to any of us. She can love us all. Now, am I her mom and she spends the most time with me? Absolutely. Now, is she going to listen to mama and papa more than other people? Absolutely. I mean, it's that respect of parenting. It's go ask your mom and dad, you know, is it okay? If a child that's not mine asks me for a piece of candy, sure, I'll give it to you if it's okay with your mom and dad. Why? You're giving them that parenting respect because it's their child, not yours. Okay. Another book that I really like that I got on Thrift Books as well is called When I Feel Scared. That would be this one right here. When I Feel Scared, written by Cornelia Maud Spellman, illustrated by Kathy Parkinson. It's the Way I Feel book series. The reason that I got this one for my daughter is because she was going through a scared phase where a lot of things were scaring her when we first separated. Mind you, she's already a more cautious child. That's her personality. But she was feeling scared, and this is a great book to teach coping skills for when they're feeling scared. And it talks about talking about your scared feelings, asking for a hug if you're scared. You can cuddle with a blanket, you can cuddle with a parent, learn about scary things and how some things might not be so scary. Also, finding a cozy place. A tool that I used with, as a therapist a lot was an exercise called Safe Place, and this reminds me of that a little bit, but they call it a cozy place. To me, a safe place is a place where you feel 100% safe and 100% free to be yourself. We might have safety people in our circle where we are free to feel 100% ourselves and loved 100% without feeling judged. If you have people like that in your life, consider yourself blessed. That's what I call a support system. We all need a support system, and it's good exercise to write down who those people are in your lives so that when you need a lifeline, you can call someone and you can reach out to them. And the same goes for children. You can ask them, who are the people that help you feel comforted and safe? And you can write that down. They can draw a picture of it. The safe place exercise is a great one. Maybe I'll do a segment on that and walk you through it. But that is one of my favorite exercises that I would do with my clients. Finding your support system and finding your safe place is key, just for emotional balance alone. If you have emotional balance as a parent, you can help your children achieve emotional balance as well. Mind you, they're little people, so their emotional rebound might be very quick, but at least you're trying. Remember, it's not going to be perfect. A book that I really liked that helped me talk about feelings with Evangeline. Oh my gosh, she loves this one. It's called Glad Monster, Sad Monster, a book about feelings, and it's fun and it's interactive. It's by Ed Emberley and Anne Miranda. And what I love about it is it's interactive. So for example, this one talks about the yellow monster, and the yellow monster is a glad monster, a happy monster. And then it comes with this little pop-up section or pop-out section where you can put it over your face and talk about your feelings. So something that I would do with Evangeline is, oh, I feel so happy when you clean up your toys, or mommy feels so happy when you listen to me. And she was only not even 2 when I started using this book with her, so a lot of her words would be mumbled or short, but she liked mimicking and she liked putting the mask over her face and practicing that. But in doing that, now that she's 4, she doesn't even need this to tell me how she feels. She'll tell me how she's feeling. So there's the sad one too, the little sad monster. I would tell her, I feel sad when you don't listen to me sometimes. It feels sad when mommy has to raise her voice to get you to clean up your toys. I really don't want to do that, so it makes me feel sad. And so, Evangeline would mimic, and she can say something like, it makes me feel sad when you raise your voice at me. And so it's trying to find that compromise of, well, what can we do so that you clean up your toys without mommy having to elevate her voice? Maybe not even yelling, but just even elevating the voice. And there's like love. There's different ones. It's super awesome. I love this book. This is one of Evangeline's favorites. So I think what's key is that in not being a perfect parent, as long as you're showing your kids love and you're trying your best and you're owning up to your mistakes as a parent when it happens, your kids are resilient. They're going to be all right. And you have to forgive yourself for your own mistakes too, in order to teach your children. It starts with you first, and then it translates to them. I'm hard on myself, super hard on myself. And I noticed that pattern in Evangeline. I think part of it is her personality is very similar to mine, but part of it is she sees mommy. She sees mommy's inner struggle. She sees mommy trying to be perfect at everything. She sees mommy doing everything at once, and my brain is going all at once, and I'm trying to do 5 things at once. When sometimes I need to take the time to slow it down and say, hey, stop. Write a to-do list, do it later, be present for your child. They're here right now. Certain things can wait when they're with their dad, or certain things can wait when they're asleep, or certain things can wait till next week. It's prioritizing. And for me, my children are my life, so they are my priority. But I'm a work in progress too, as a parent and as a person. I'm just going to show you some books, some quick books, to show your kids that you love them, or just to talk about love with them, showering them with love. One that I like is The Love in My Heart. I feel like this reminds me of my own parenting style, because this little bunny's too tired to walk. He doesn't want to walk all the way home, and the mom's like, the love of our heart's going to get us there. The love of our heart's going to get us there. And so it's really kind of nudging your kids in the right direction while loving them at the same time. So it's the love and the discipline piece. So I really like this book a lot. It's by, I'll tell you who it's by, Tim Bugbird and Nadine Wickenden. Another book that I like is 3 Little Words by Clemency Pearce and illustrated by Rosalind Beardshaw. This is just how to say I love you. I mean, not everybody grows up with those words, and it's very sad. And if you're a parent who has a hard time saying I love you, this might be a good resource. This might be a good first step, because some parents who weren't ever told have a hard time saying it. And then some parents who weren't told say, oh, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to tell my kid I love him 100 times a day. So it really depends, and that's okay. I tell Evangeline I love her all the time. She hears it a few times a day. I could be driving and she's in the back singing, and I'll be, Evangeline, I love you. You know, Belina, I love you, to my other daughter. I talk more about my older daughter because she's 4, so she's a bit more verbal and able to do a lot of these things. My younger one is still really little, and so that's why I might reference her more. But I love both of my girls, and they know because I tell them all the time. And I shower them with hugs, and I shower them with kisses. And again, not everyone grew up that way. This is a good start. Just saying I love you and being able to see the images of what a hug looks like, and then implementing it in your child's life will really help them grow to be healthy individuals. Here's another one called Love You Forever. Oh my goodness. Tearjerker. I love this book. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. This just talks about that eternal love, that eternal bond that a parent has with their child, that God has with us. It's a love that never goes away. No matter where you're at, like if I'm upset with her and she's upset with me, or they're upset with me and I'm upset with them, or the baby's mad at me because I'm not getting her milk fast enough, knowing that we love each other no matter what. That's the most important, that our love is going to be forever. That our love as parents, it's unconditional for our kids, just the way God's love for us is unconditional. I remember reading this when I was pregnant, because I would read with my first pregnancy. I mean, when you have your first kid, you're like, I'm gonna be super mom and I'm gonna do all these things right. And then you have your second kid and you're like, it's cool, dust it off, you'll be fine. It happens. But knowing where we need to work on as parents, and knowing what our own strengths and weaknesses are as people and our parents, it's really going to help our children in the long run. But love, love, love. If your child feels loved by you, they're going to be okay. And you're going to be okay. That's all for today. I'll go ahead and put these, the name of the books and the authors down below. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and comment, or I have maybe some other resources that I can always give you, since this segment is already running long. Let me hear from you. Feedback is always great. If there's something you need more of or less of, if these video segments are too long and you want them to be shorter, or in your eyes they might be too short but you want it to be longer, I don't think that's the case. It might be the other way around. Go ahead and contact me. I'll be open to the feedback, because this is really for you. I'm doing it for people to get the word out there, to get resources out there, and I'm open to any feedback that might come my way. So I really hope this is helpful for you as parents. You don't have to go through a divorce to want to love your kids, and to want to communicate with your kids, and to want to be a good parent to your kids. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. Help me help you, and smile more and be real. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.